Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Warcry. This time we're taking a look at the Shadowstalkers, the second faction that's going to be released with the Warcry Catacombs set that is available for pre-order today, I think. um, so yeah, what are the Shadowstalkers? These are the elf guys in the box, and in this video we'll have a look at all of their fighters, at their basically stats. Then we'll take a look at how they perform points wise and at their abilities. And last but not least, we'll be taking a look at some lists I came up with. So what do we have here? First off, we've got the Shroud Queen. She's 190 points. That's the same point value that the Signs of the Flame leader is. Movement 6, which is very nice. Toughness 4 and 20 wounds. Toughness 4 and 20 wounds is the same as the other leader as well. Quite decent, but very average for leaders, basically. She's got a range of 1, 4 attacks, strength 4, 2, 5 damage. This is not a bad profile, but it's not an amazing one, especially for a leader for 190 points. 6 points of damage on average is not out of the ordinary. So she's not bad at all, not saying that, but based on her stats alone, I doubt she's worth the 190 points. But let's not forget, she's got an ability, and we'll have to have a look at that as well. Then we've got the Warlock. There's 2 Warlock models in the box, and as far as I understand it, each of them can be built either with crossbows or with a magic ring. So you could take 2 crossbows, 2 rings, or one of each. So these cost 100 points, which is quite cheap for quote-unquote elite models, so that's nice. Movement 5, which is good. Toughness 3, which obviously makes them a bit weaker. And then 8 wounds. So they are absolutely chaff tier in terms of survivability. This is low level, very low level survivability. For 100 points, not great. Fighters for 55 points have the same kind of survivability. The guy with crossbows has a attack range of 8 inches, but he can shoot even melee, so it's 1 to 8 inches. 4 attacks, strength 3, 1 3 damage. Not the greatest damage in the world, to be fair, 2.7. However, at a range of 8, that's not bad. 4 attacks is really not bad at all for an archer. And the strength 3, 1 3 damage is kind of what many archers in the game have. So I'm not super surprised with his profile. I think the 4 attacks are nice. The range is not great, but not bad. This guy's not bad. And we've got the Warlock with the ring, so the magic variety. Also 100 points. Movement 5, toughness 3, and 8 wounds. So just as squishy as the other one, also needs to stay out of melee range. He only has a range of 7, 2 attacks, which is pitiful, strength 3, 2 4 damage. So his damage is a bit higher than that of the crossbow guy, but he only has half the attacks and less range, which makes him deal less damage on average. So I see no reason to ever bring the Warlock with ring. Furthermore, his ranged attack that has a range of 7 inches does not work in melee. It's limited to at least 3 inches in range. And in melee he has an attack that's even worse. So I really have no idea why you would ever want to bring the ring guy as compared to the crossbow guy, especially since they both have the same ability. So in my opinion, just build both you guys with the crossbows, no doubt about that. Then we've got the Shadow Blades. The Shadow Blades are basically the chaff and the main bulk of the warband. You get 5 of those, and one of them you could build with a spear, as far as I understand it, maybe 2. They have movement 5, toughness 3, and 8 wounds, which is not amazing. Again, quite weak, but movement 5 is nice, so having high movement is always good in Warcry. The spear obviously has a range of 2, 3 attacks, strength 4, which is not bad for chaff models, 1 4 damage. However, do keep in mind these guys are 90 points. That is not cheap. There's models that are way cheaper than this and do kind of the same. I'm not terribly happy with this one. And we've got the Shadow Blade, who only has a range of 1, of course. However, 4 attacks, so 1 extra attack. Loses a point in strength though, and also deals 1 4 damage. I think 4 attacks is quite good paired with a crit damage of 4 though. That will allow you to get 1 crit through in most of your attack actions, resulting in an average of 3.4 damage per activation. So I think the normal Shadow Blades, in terms of damage output, they are not bad. Yeah, also very squishy, and that's why you might want to bring the spear, just to have that range advantage and not get killed as easily. And then we've got the Slaughter Shade. You also only get 1 Slaughter Shade in your warband, and you can equip her with either the whip or the spear. She costs 120 points, which is not really cheap. Also is 5 movement, toughness 3, so quite weak, this warband in general, but quite fast. 12 wounds, so a good bit more than the Shadow Blades and the Warlocks, a lot more survivable there. A range of 4 with the whip, which is really good. It allows you to punch people on buildings, for example, and it might be enough to attack enemies over the lava streams in the Catacombs set. So imagine you're on one side of the lava, your opponent is on the other. I think you will be able to punch enemies across, which is nice. So this is almost like a ranged attack. Anyways, 3 attacks, not that much, but strength 4 and 2 4 damage, which really isn't a bad profile, resulting in an average of 4 damage per action. Again, it's not amazing damage, but at the range of 4, I think this is a pretty good model. Then we've got the spear variety, also 120 points, movement 5, toughness 3, and 12 wounds. This guy or girl has a range of 2, 4 attacks, so 1 extra attack, same strength at 4, but only 1 4 damage, so losing a point in normal damage. So this model will be better against high toughness opponents. So if you're fighting a toughness 5 opponent, you will get higher damage out of the spear. However, against toughness 4, you can see the damage is the same, and against anything lower than that, against toughness 3, the whip will be superior. So with them being so close in damage, I think it's quite clear that the whip, with its very superior range, is going to be a lot better than the spear. So let's have a look at abilities these guys get. Oh, let's have a look at their damage per point values first. Let me see how I can make this bigger. There we go. So the Shroud Queen, as I said, she's got a moderate damage per point value. Again, if we compare that to the Science of the Flame, go check that video out if you haven't already. It should be up on my channel already. This is worse than the leader of the Science of the Flame. She's, as I said, also quite survivable for activations to be killed, not bad. Decent damage per point value. Now the Warlocks, as you can see, the one with ring is the one that's got the worst damage output out of all the warband, and is the only one who's in below average tier here. The one with crossbows is at least in the average territory. However, he suffers from the same problem even the basic Shadow Blades do, that he can be killed super quickly, and therefore he doesn't get his points value in survivability. Luckily for him, Warcry isn't really that much about survivability, so that's not the biggest deal. I think he's probably still quite good. We'll have a look at this ability in a second and you'll see what I mean. We've got the Shadow Blade with Spear and the normal Shadow Blade. You can see obviously that the normal one has better damage per point value. It's actually the best damage per point value in the warband. Because they are relatively cheap at 90 points and their damage output really isn't bad. Again, though, very squishy, which makes the spear a bit more appealing. And then we've got the Slaughter Shade. Because she's more expensive than the others, her damage output is only average, but then keep in mind that the range is quite good, so I think the Slaughter Shade really isn't bad either. Anyway, so let's have a look at the abilities. First off, we have a double that all fighters can use, and it just allows your fighters to fly until the end of your activation. That is a good skill. It will allow you to get over terrain, move a lot faster. Flight can sometimes really increase your movement a lot. If you need to get on top of a building and something, you might only need one activation to move if you can fly and not climb up somewhere and then attack with the second activation. So this is a good one. And keep in mind, everyone still has access to Onslaught, so you don't really need a double that buffs your fighting prowess that necessarily. You can just do that with Onslaught. Then you've got a double that only the Shadow Blades get, so your Chaff units, and that's rolling 2 dice for one enemy in 9 inches. For each 4+, you deal 2 damage, which honestly is a lot better than that 1 damage you often see for these abilities. And for a 6+, you halve the move value of that fighter. I think that's interesting. It's not as good as a net is, let's be real. It's only gonna work about 30% of the cases. But making your opponent stuck can be insanely powerful, and especially if this is a fighter with only 4-inch range. Yeah, that's what the Signs of the Flame are all about, 4-inch range. If you reduce that to 2 inches, they are going to crawl across the battlefield. It's gonna suck for them. And with this ability having a high range of 9 inches, I think it's something you're going to use often in the first battle round when you maybe not have much use for your doubles otherwise. You can probably deal 2 damage and sometimes really reduce your enemy's movement, which could hinder them in the long run. Then we've got a double for the Slaughter Shade, so remember that's the girl with the whip, which allows her to make a bonus move or attack action if she killed someone in this turn. I'm not a big lover of this ability because if you want to use it, if you plan to use it, you basically forsake Onslaught. You say, okay, I'm not going to use Onslaught because hopefully I kill this enemy anyways, and then can use the double to make another move or attack action. So you basically, it's a bit of a risk-reward thing. You risk a more unlikely kill because with Onslaught, obviously, killing the opponent would be more likely. So you kind of risk that in order to hopefully get another attack action. So not bad, but not great either. Then we've got a triple which the Warlock has access to, and that is -1 to attack actions. -1 attack for attack actions that target friendly fighters within 3 inches of the Warlock. I think this is a really good one. All of this warband is quite squishy. Just look at this. Everyone is squishy. So what this ability does is really make your fighters more secure, because reducing attack actions by enemies is powerful. Especially if they are like 2 or 3 attack models who have high damage per attack, they are really going to suffer from getting their attacks reduced. So really good ability in my opinion, that triple. And this also works against range fighters because this is about the friendly fighters being within 3 inches of this guy. It doesn't say anything about the enemy, so even if the enemy is far away and shoots at your guy who's within 3 inches of this Warlock, your guy is still going to be protected. So I really like this one. Then we've got another triple for all fighters that allows your fighter to disengage, so finish disengage actions within 1 inch of enemies. This is going to be a niche one. It's cool, definitely cool, because normally tying a fighter down in Warcry is quite strong because they will have to use a disengage to get away from you, and then when they a normal fighter with 1 inch range will have to use a move action to get next to the fighter they actually wanted to target, and that's going to be both of their actions, and therefore they can't attack you anymore. This will allow you to disengage and still be able to attack afterwards, which is really cool. However, as I said, it's going to be a niche application. I think using a triple for this is not super likely. One of the reasons is that the Warlock triple is really good, so I think you're going to want to focus on that one. But this one can be good occasionally, especially in missions where you have to kill a specific enemy model. So you need to get past like a barrier of other models who try to tie you down. Then this can be really good. Then we have the quad, which is tied to the leader, so the Shroud Queen. This one deals damage equal to the value of the ability to all enemies in 3 inches. I like that there's no roll involved with this. So if you have a good quad, a quad 4, quad 5, whatever, you're going to deal flat damage. That's something. 3 inches isn't the greatest bubble, but it's not bad. And when you deal 3 damage, you can choose to deal 3 damage to yourself and double the range, so deal that damage to enemies within 6 inches of you. 6 inches is a big bubble. So when there's like an important fight happening and you use this ability, you might possibly hit 4, 5, even 6 enemy fighters. If you got a good quad value, this is going to be a lot of value. It's like, let's say you have a quad of 4s and you hit 4 enemy fighters, that's 12. That's 16 damage. Could easily be more. So not a bad ability at all. That spreading out damage isn't as good in Warcry as focusing models down, because obviously there's action economy and so on. So it's not going to be amazingly powerful, but this is not a bad one. However, I think it's kind of overshadowed by the triple by the Warlocks, and it's often going to be a tough decision to say you're going to want to use that quad instead of a triple. However, as I said, there's going to be occasions where a lot of enemy fighters group around one objective or something, and that's where this ability is really going to shine. Yeah, so those are the abilities. Now let's have a little look at our lists. I didn't hide anything, so you were probably able to see this before. But this is what I would do with what comes in one box. So when I buy the Catacomb set, you're going to get one box, and this is what I would do with the one box. I would build both my Warlocks with crossbows because it's just better. There's no reason to bring the ring. It's sad because the magic wielding models look cool, but there's no point bringing it. Then we've got the Shadow Blades. I would probably build one, maybe even two with this spear. The reason being, with the Catacomb set, you will have tight fits. You will have bridges you're fighting over, you will have doors you're fighting over. There's a lot of doorways, and not many fighters fit into those doorways. Having 2-inch range to be able to hit over your own fighters is quite good. So if it's possible, I'm not quite sure if it is, I would probably build 2 of these and 3 of the normal Shadow Blades. I don't know if it's possible. Maybe you can only build 1 spear. In this case, it would be 1/4. Whatever. You can switch that around. But anyways, I think having some extra range is always good. And then the Slaughter Shade, no doubt about that, I would build with the whip because it's clearly better in the vast majority of cases. Now, let's have a look at what I would do if I had multiple boxes available. In that case, I would change this up a bit. I would still obviously get the Shroud Queen. I would still get 2 Warlocks. Not because the damage output is amazing, or because I really like that 8-inch range attack so much, but because I love the triple. And I think having that in 2 battle groups and being able to use that where you need it is gonna be key. Using that triple out of the Warlocks is going to be how you win your games or lose them. So I think having 2 of those is still important. I would probably use 4 normal Shadow Blades here. Why no more Spears? Well, because I can drop it and instead get Slaughter Shapes with Whips. The thing I was talking about before, that you need to be able to punch over the top of your friendly fighters. Well, you can do that with the whips. They have 4-inch range. You can do that from a long range even. So I think having the Slaughter Shades with whips is just a better option than using the spears on the Shadow Blades, and then still using 4 of the Shadow Blades because they are cheap and do decent damage output for their points cost. So no reason not to bring these. I would put you at 9 models, which is a rather good model count, I think. And I think this is going to be a pretty decent warband. In my next video, which is probably going to be out tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the specific matchup between Shadowstalkers and Scions, which I think what I think will affect this matchup a lot. Who's going to be the better or worse options there, and how they will play in the catacombs as well. Like, the environments are new, and there's some new rules, so I think it's important to keep that in mind and have a look at how they will probably match up. Anyways, guys, I thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one, and goodbye.